Hey everybody, thanks for tuning back into OTRAM's YouTube channel, your source for Land Cruiser repair and modification videos. Today we're going to do part 2 of the 80 series 1FZ head gasket video. I've got my bare block here and I got my cylinder head back from the machine shop. The machinist has already checked the cylinder head for flatness and warp. He's done all his cutting, so we know that's good to go. We don't, however, know the condition of the block. So I've already gone ahead and taken a carbide scraper and, cleaned all the old gasket material and everything off the block surface. And then I took just a small piece of glass and wrapped it in some 800 wet dry paper. Sprayed the whole block surface down with WD-40 and just lightly cleaned off just the residual of the gasket material off the block with the piece of glass and the 800 grit paper. You don't want to really force it or stay in one spot. You just want to keep it moving. All you're trying to do is just get that coating of gasket material off to make sure everything's good. Once that was done, I took one of my old head bolts. I don't know if you can see it, but I cut grooves into the head bolt to make a chaser. And you just run each of these down all the head bolt holes, and all the crud will accumulate in the grooves in the bolt and clean the threads out of here so we get accurate torque when we put the head bolts back in. So I'll run these down, run it in all the holes, and then I'll fill the head bolt holes up with brake cleaner. Fill it up, let them sit for a little bit. I've already done all these. And then just put a rag over it and blow it out to get all the chunks and residual up out of there. So all those have been done. Now we're ready to actually check our block for warp. So we'll get out our precision straight edge, make sure it's clean and wiped down. Oh, and I've already wiped down the block surface with brake clean and blown it off to make sure there's no lint. So we're going to set our straight edge on here. And the warp limit is 0.002 inches, so not much at all. We're going to put our straight edge on here, and hopefully you can see that. And we're just going to take this, and we're going to try to stick it under everywhere it bridges. And here, we can just barely go under the middle, but we've got some drag. But we can't go anywhere except right there. And then we'll come back the other direction. And we can't go any way that way. So the only spot we could get it, and almost start the same way going the other way. So this block is like right on the line for Toyota's warp spec. But it's within spec, so we can go ahead and use it. We don't have to send the block, we don't have to strip it all and send the block up to the machine shop to get decked. And then same method, you would check the head if you hadn't had the machine shop check it. The head spec is a little bit looser. It's allowed 0.0059 of warp checking it across. I've already double checked that the head came back good from the machine shop and I can't get any feeler gauges under it. So we're good to go there. This engine is getting a Cometic all metal head gasket. So we need to do one more check. We need to check for surface roughness. So let me set up my surface roughness gauge and I'll bring you back. Okay, so this is our surface roughness gauge, and it's basically a little reciprocating arm that has like an old school record player stylus on it, except the stylus on this is made out of diamond. And we've got it, you probably can't see the meter, but the meter is measuring in micro inches, and Cometic wants us to be less than 50 micro inches for their all-metal head gasket. And we're sweeping between 30 and 40 micro inches here on the cylinder block. And I've already done this and checked it in a couple of locations, and we're around 40 everywhere. Normally you don't have to do this, but using the all-metal head gasket, we want to make sure we're exceptionally smooth. So we're going, we're 35, 40 micro inches. I also checked the head to make sure that the machine shop had gotten us a good enough surface finish, and the head checks out at 18, which is super awesome. I love the machine shop we use, so it's exceptionally smooth. So that is checking for surface finish. And again, it's not something you're normally going to do, but we're doing it for the Cometic head gasket, so I figured I would show the tester. The very last test is checking your head bolts to make sure they're good to reuse. Let me grab one of the old head bolts and I'll come back. So we've got our original head bolts, and we're going to check them for thickness to make sure they haven't stretched and narrowed out. And the standard thickness is 10.85 to 11 millimeters. And like this guy's reading 10.82. Our limit's 10.6. So we're good with these. Head bolts are pretty cheap, so when in doubt, get new head bolts. This one, because we're using the Cometic gasket and it's possibly going to get turbocharged in the future, we're actually going to use ARP head studs when we put this one back together. But yeah, that's checking the block surface to make sure it's good to go before you put your freshly machined head back on, and checking your head bolts. I'll bring you back in just a little bit and we'll start putting the head back together. I hope you found this useful, and if you did, please subscribe below. And if you found it super helpful, check out our Patreon link down in the description. And I'll catch you next time. Thanks.